She ran it over like it insulted her mother. Twice. In broad daylight. And then had the nerve to wave at me, like she didn't just commit federal-level mailbox murder. That was the moment I realized Karen Willowbrook didn't just enforce the HOA rules in Lakewood Pines. She was the HOA rules. And if your grass dared grow half an inch too high, or your garden gnome looked at her sideways, she'd come for you next. But this story didn't start with a showdown in the street. It started with a weird little noise at night, the kind you ignore because, well, you've got bigger things to worry about. I should have worried. Because that thump was the start of a very strange war. And I wasn't ready for just how far Karen was willing to go to win. Before we dive into this absolutely bonkers HOA drama, make sure to hit that like button if you've ever had a neighbor who thought they were the sheriff of suburbia. And don't forget to subscribe. We post real stories like this every single day, and trust me, you do not want to miss what Karen does next. Also, drop us a comment and let us know what city you're watching from. We love seeing how far these wild HOA tales travel. Now buckle up because this one starts quiet and ends with airbags. It started with a noise I almost ignored. Just a dull thunk somewhere out in the night, not loud, not urgent. One of those vague thuds that could be anything. A trash bin tipping. A stray dog brushing past the porch. I shrugged and went back to brushing my teeth, fully prepared to forget it ever happened. But the next morning? My mailbox was leaning like a drunk after last call. The post had been bent at the base, twisted like someone tried to unscrew it from the earth. Paint chipped. Door hanging open. Mail, what little there was, scattered in the grass like it had tried to escape. I stood there staring at it with my travel mug and half a bagel, thinking maybe a delivery van misjudged the turn. That happens sometimes, right? Tight streets, big trucks. Reasonable explanation. So I fixed it. Straightened the post, hammered it back in, touched up the paint. 20 minutes, tops. I didn't even mention it to my wife. Just one of those things you deal with and move on. Except 2 days later it happened again. This time the whole post had been ripped out of the ground and was lying in the ditch like a corpse. One of the bolts was bent into a spiral. There were 2 tire tracks leading away from the scene like getaway marks. Weird coincidence. But then it happened again. And again. 4 times in 11 days. Different damage every time. Once the mailbox door was snapped clean off and tossed into a neighbor's yard. Another time the entire wooden post had splintered straight down the middle like it had been hit with a sledgehammer. I upgraded. Used thicker wood. Set the post deeper in concrete. Added reflectors. Sprayed it neon orange like a traffic cone. Still got destroyed. By week 3 I was feeling like a character in a horror movie where the killer only targets your mailbox. I half expected to wake up and find it hanging from a tree with a note that said, "Next time use bronze." I tried staying up. Parked a lawn chair by the window with a flashlight and a bag of pretzels. Nothing. Whoever it was had timing. They struck when I was asleep, in the shower, or just gone long enough for them to swoop in like a mailbox assassin. I asked around. Phil across the street said he heard an engine revving around 2 a.m. on Tuesday. June and her poodle said they saw a gray SUV slowing near our driveway the day before. Problem is, this is Hickory Bend. Half the HOA drives a gray SUV. It's practically the community uniform. I filed a complaint. Typed it all out. Attached pictures. Circled dates on a calendar. I even made a little chart that showed the frequency of attacks, with arrows and everything. 3 days later I got a formal email response. "We appreciate your concern and will look into the matter." Lakewood Pines HOA Board. Look into what? A serial mailbox killer? Was CSI, Suburbia on the case? I decided to go in person. No more emails. No more charts. So I printed photos, stapled them together like a true suburban detective, and marched down to the HOA office, ready to demand justice for my broken box. And that's when I met her. Karen Willowbrook. If Barbie had a version called Hostile HOA President, that was her. Blonde bob. Power suit in an aggressive beige. Glasses on a chain. And a smile that could curdle cream. She looked up from her desk with the dead eyes of someone who's fined a man for an unapproved porch swing. "Hi," I began, holding up the evidence like I was on Dateline. "I've had 5 separate incidents involving my mailbox in the last 2 weeks. It's being vandalized. Possibly hit by a vehicle. I've filed a report, but..." She blinked. "Mailbox," she said like I'd just introduced a new species. "Yes, my mailbox. It's been knocked down repeatedly. There are tire marks. I think someone's doing it on purpose." Karen took the packet from me like it was contagious, flipped through the photos like they bored her, and let out a little hum. "Well, these older posts do tend to fail over time," she said. "And that paint doesn't look regulation. Antique bronze is the approved finish, not whatever this is. It's gray, I said flatly. And the post is brand new. She smiled again. Still, technically you could be in violation. I stood there, jaw tightening. My mailbox was destroyed. Several times. Right, she nodded. But if it's not HOA compliant to begin with, that does complicate things. I'll see what we can do. In the meantime, I'd recommend reviewing Section 4.3 in the Community Guidelines. There's a whole subsection on acceptable post height and materials. It felt like I was being gaslit in a pottery barn. I left with nothing. No action, no plan, just a gentle threat about my non-compliant mailbox as if it had brought this on itself. Still, I rebuilt it. Again. This time with double brackets and a reflective strip down the post. Made sure it was the exact height listed in the HOA guidelines. I even emailed Karen a photo of the completed install. No response. Days passed. Silence. Then one morning I spotted her. Jogging past my house like she owned the pavement. Pink tracksuit. Perfect hair. That visor tilted just so. She slowed down slightly near the mailbox, glanced at it, then kept going. I waved. She gave me a smile. The same smile she'd given in the office. The one that didn't quite reach her eyes. That night, I stayed up late, watching from the front window like a man waiting for a ghost. Nothing happened. No thud. No tire marks. 2 more nights passed. Maybe it was over. Maybe she'd backed off. Maybe the neighborhood gremlin had finally gotten bored. And then, Sunday morning. I came downstairs, poured my coffee, opened the curtains, and froze. The mailbox was on its side again. Crush. Flattened. Post snapped clean. Fresh tire tracks curved off into the lawn like a signature. Whoever it was had struck again, clean, bold, and without hesitation. And this time, I was done playing defense. By that point, I'd fixed my mailbox 6 times. I had every model down. Single post, double brace, pre-drilled kit from Lowe's, DIY build with anchor bolts. You name it, I tried it. And each one got flattened like a pancake at a demolition derby. After Sunday's hit, I didn't even swear. Just stood there, arms crossed, sipping what was now cold coffee and staring at the mess like it had insulted my mother. My neighbor Greg, quiet guy, teaches middle school science, walked by with his dog and did that little side-eye nod. Again? I nodded back. He whistled. You pissed someone off? I didn't think so. But I guess my mailbox did. That afternoon, I sat down and reviewed the photos I'd taken. Every wreck. Every angle. Tire tracks, dent patterns, the works. Then something caught my eye. In the corner of one picture, behind the debris barely visible. A silver fender. I zoomed in. Enhance. Enhance. Well, okay, not CSI levels of clarity, but definitely a gray SUV parked one house down. No license plate visible, but a decent chunk of bumper showing. My stomach sank a little. Not because of the damage. Because I knew that SUV. Karen Willowbrook drove one just like it. Still, I couldn't prove it was hers. Lots of people in the neighborhood drove gray SUVs. It was like an unspoken HOA requirement. But now my gears were turning. I went back through my HOA email folder, all 63 unread messages. Scrolled to a newsletter from last month. There she was in a photo from the annual spring safety sweep, standing in front of her SUV, holding a clipboard and smiling like she just caught someone's dog pooping without a bag. Same car. Same smudge on the bumper. Same little dent on the rear fender. I leaned back in my chair and exhaled. I still didn't have hard proof. But I had something better. I had a gut feeling and Karen had a pattern. The next day I didn't fix the mailbox. I left it there, half buried, post cracked, door missing, like a fallen soldier. Part of me wanted her to see it. Part of me wondered if she'd even care. Around noon I saw her again. Not jogging this time, driving. Same SUV, window down, sunglasses on, visor like a crown. She pulled up slow in front of my house. Didn't get out. Just sat there for a minute, engine idling. I stepped onto my porch trying to look casual while watching every move. She rolled down the window fully. Hi, Craig, she chirped, voice sweet like poison tea. Looks like your mailbox had another little mishap. Yep, I said, folding my arms. Seems like it's a magnet for destruction. She gave a fake laugh. Well, maybe it's time to retire it. Could be the wind or those landscaping trucks. They barrel through here like it's NASCAR. Right, I said. The wind. Always so precise with tire marks. Her eyes narrowed just a touch. Well, either way you might want to check compliance. I know Section 4.3 can be a little confusing. We've updated the height specs recently. I smiled. Good to know. I'll make sure my next one's bulletproof. She stared for a second too long. Then, have a great afternoon. And just like that she rolled off. Not too fast. Not too slow. Just enough to let me know she could stop anytime. I watched her go. And I knew it was her. I just didn't know why. That night, I tried to talk to my wife about it, but she was in I don't want HOA drama mode and suggested I just let it go. I couldn't. Something about the way Karen smiled at me like she knew exactly what was happening, and that I couldn't do a damn thing, got under my skin. Later I found myself walking the neighborhood. Looking at other mailboxes. Measuring them. Taking notes. Yes, I became that guy. And I noticed something odd. Everyone else's mailbox had small scrapes. Little nicks. Chips in the paint. But only mine had been flattened. Repeatedly. Almost surgically. It wasn't the wind. It wasn't kids. It was Karen. And if she thought she could keep getting away with it, hiding behind her HOA badge and her pleasant, Stepford smile, then she had no idea who she was messing with. That night I didn't fix the mailbox. I sharpened my pencils, grabbed a notepad, and started sketching. You ever reach a point where something snaps? Not loud. Not dramatic. Just a quiet, internal click. Like a switch flipping. That was me. Standing in my garage at 11:47 p.m., staring at my dusty toolbox and a $5 sketch of a mailbox design that looked more like a military blueprint than anything you'd find in a Home Depot aisle. I wasn't angry. I was focused. Karen had made it personal. And I wasn't about to let her keep playing HOA Hunger Games with my property. But before I started welding steel plates together like I was forging Suburban Excalibur, I needed to be sure. So I did what every passive-aggressive neighbor does when they need intel. I took a walk. Not a normal walk. A purposeful, I'm just out for fresh air kind of stroll. Middle of the day. Notepad in my pocket. Phone in hand. Smile on my face. I started knocking on doors. First was Phil across the street. Retired Navy. Watches everything. I caught him trimming his hedges and slid into the topic like a sitcom dad. Hey, you ever notice anything weird around here lately? Like, someone messing with stuff. He looked up, trimmed one last branch and said, You mean your mailbox again? Yeah. He smirked. I didn't see who did it, but I did hear someone gunning their engine near your yard last Thursday. Around 3:30 in the morning. Gray SUV? He raised an eyebrow. Could be. I didn't get up. Figured someone was just late for a flight or having a crisis. I thanked him and moved on. Next was Sandy, 2 doors down, cat person, bakes for the block on holidays. She invited me in before I could even finish asking. Oh honey, we've all had issues with Karen, she said, pouring tea like she was debriefing me for a mission. Wait, so it's not just me? Sandy leaned in. She gave the Martins a $200 fine for hanging wind chimes. Said they violated the noise tranquility clause. What the hell is a noise tranquility clause? She waved it off. She made it up. And when they tried to appeal, she said the paperwork was filed late, even though she never sent it. Another neighbor, James, got dinged for using the wrong shade of white on his fence. Margaret? Her garden gnomes were deemed aesthetically inconsistent with community standards. She had to remove 8 of them. 2 were family heirlooms. I was stunned. Karen had been ruling the neighborhood like a manic dictator in tennis shoes, and no one had done anything. Because nobody had proof. Because she always played just inside the lines. Until now. Because I had tire tracks. I had patterns. And I had motivation. That evening I sat down with my sketch again. Refined it. Labeled each layer. Wood shell. Steel core. Concrete base. If she was going to run over another mailbox, this one would make her car regret being born. But I didn't stop there. I ordered a motion sensor camera. One with night vision, HD resolution, cloud backup, and about 20 settings I didn't understand but liked the sound of. I picked up half-inch cold-rolled steel from a scrapyard 20 minutes away. Rebar. Bolts. Industrial adhesive. And yes, I bought a fake squirrel to glue on top. Because if I was building a trap, it was going to be festive. The next day I started construction in my garage. It wasn't pretty. I'm no carpenter. But I was determined. Sweating through a Saturday afternoon with sawdust in my hair and revenge in my heart. Every screw felt like a statement. Every weld, a warning. By evening the frame was done. By Sunday morning I had a post so solid it could have survived a tornado and asked for more. But I didn't install it yet. Not immediately. I waited. Watched. And sure enough, Karen reappeared. Same SUV. Same slow roll. This time she stopped right across the street and just sat there. Engine running. Window halfway down. I stood on my porch with a glass of lemonade, pretending not to notice her. She didn't wave. After 2 minutes she drove off. Didn't look back. But the message was clear. She was watching. And so was I. That night, I went outside with a shovel and a headlamp. Dug the hole. Poured the concrete. Set the post deep. Bolted the steel in tight. Topped it off with a coat of antique gray paint, the exact shade she once said looked depressing. Then glued the squirrel on top. Slightly crooked. Intentionally smug. By 3 a.m. it was done. I took one last look before heading in. It didn't look like much. Just a standard suburban mailbox. But beneath the surface? Oh, it was ready. The mailbox stood untouched for 4 days. 4 long, excruciating days where nothing happened and everything was happening. Every morning, I sipped coffee at my window like a man on watch duty. Every night, I rechecked the camera. Battery full, lens clean, sensor active. I had triple backup in the cloud. I even made a duplicate copy on a flash drive I hid in my sock drawer like some suburban spy thriller. But Karen? She didn't show. No slow roll. No sideways glances. Just quiet. It started to mess with me. Was she bluffing? Backing off? Did she somehow know? Then day 5. Sunday. 6:43 a.m. I was sitting on the couch in my robe, cat on my lap, fresh cup of dark roast in hand. The street was empty. Still. Peaceful. And then the familiar hum. I leaned forward. The gray SUV turned the corner like it was gliding on ice. Same model. Same visor. The queen of HOA was back on the move. I didn't blink. She slowed. Slower. Creeping past my lawn like a gator in a kiddie pool. Then she stopped. Right in front of the mailbox. The engine idled. A puff of exhaust curled into the air. I stood up. Didn't move. Didn't speak. Just watched. Then, without warning, she hit the gas. The SUV lunged forward. Boom. The front bumper collided with the mailbox like a wrecking ball. Except this time, the mailbox didn't move. At all. Her hood crumpled like a soda can. The sound of crack crunch hiss filled the air. And then, bang, the airbag exploded inside the car like a punch from God. I actually flinched. Karen's SUV jolted, stuttered, and stopped. Steam rising from the engine like a bad magic trick. Then came the scream. Muffled, furious, one of those primal sounds only rich angry people can make when their power doesn't work. I grabbed my phone. Opened the security app. Playback. Recording confirmed. Multiple angles. I rewound the footage. Her SUV pulling up. Slowing. Revving. Full-blown frontal attack. Every second captured in perfect HD. Outside, the driver's door creaked open. Karen stumbled out, hair frizzed, shirt twisted, one sandal missing. She looked around, stunned, like she just stepped out of a car crash, which of course she had. She stared at the mailbox. Perfect. Upright. Proud. The squirrel on top had a little soot on it now, but still smiled like a smug forest god. Karen blinked. Then glared. I stepped outside slowly, holding my phone up, already playing the video back, with sound. Oh no, I said, mock surprised. That mailbox just jumped out at you, didn't it? She squinted at me. This is illegal. You can't build a death trap. I pointed to the post. HOA compliant height. Standard color. Approved materials. It's in the handbook. She sputtered. This is entrapment. This is harassment. I could have been injured. You were injured, I said. By your own stupidity. I rotated the phone so she could see. Would you like me to airdrop this to your insurance adjuster? Or maybe the board? Or better yet, the neighborhood group chat? Her mouth opened, then closed. She looked like she swallowed a lemon, rind and all. Craig, she growled. This is not over. Oh, I think it is, I said calmly. And don't worry, I'll be sure to include the footage of your previous visits too. The slow rolls. The comments. The passive-aggressive drive-bys. She stormed back to her car. What was left of it? One headlight dangling. Bumper half detached. But curled like a sardine can. She climbed in, fumbled with the keys, and peeled away with a groan and a sputter, leaving behind a thin trail of steam and shredded pride. I stood in the driveway, phone in one hand, mug in the other. And the mailbox? Still standing. Not a scratch. Later that week, I attended the HOA meeting. Showed the footage. No commentary needed. Just plate pause, silence, gasps. Karen didn't show. Her chair was empty. Still is. The video spread like wildfire. Not just in the HOA. Not just on our street. I'm talking full-blown viral in the community. People watched it in the hair salon. In line at the deli. At a church potluck where someone projected it onto a white sheet and passed around kettle corn like it was Oscar night. By the next HOA meeting, there weren't enough chairs. And Karen? Didn't show. Her name was gone from the attendance sheet. Her title? Quietly deleted from the HOA website. No announcement. No farewell email. Just, gone. I didn't say a word that night. Didn't have to. The footage said everything. They played it up front on a little projector. Everyone saw it. The SUV creeping. The sudden burst of speed. The impact. The airbag. The rage. And finally, her storming off with the bumper dragging behind like a broken promise. A few neighbors gasped. One guy clapped. Someone passed me a cookie. And just like that, Karen Willowbrook was out. She moved out a few weeks later. Rumor is she tried to join another HOA board across town. Didn't make it through the first interview. The new HOA president sent me a thank you note. Said the mailbox incident would now be used as a training example for why power should never go unchecked. And me? I sip coffee on my porch again. In peace. No tire marks. No broken posts. Just one steel core mailbox with a squirrel on top. Slightly tilted, a little sun-bleached and still undefeated. Enjoy that? Smash that like button and subscribe for more real HOA stories that are just unhinged enough to be true. And hey, tell us in the comments. Was justice served?